next topic, which is very interesting, the pediatrician's perspective on the whole thing. Can Dr. Jagdish Chinnappa be unmuted and screen sharing started?
Yeah. He's already a co-host, sir. Yeah.
Dr. Jagdish Chinnappa is a very respected member of the pediatric community. He's the president of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics Respiratory Chapter. He's the chairman of the pediatric services in the Manipal group of hospitals. And he's been a partner in crime whenever we used to treat patients. He used to be with us and helping us. No aspersions cast on his character. Jagdish, just go ahead, share your screen and come out with wisdom.
Just trying to do that.
Yeah. Right.
Just a moment. Sorry about this. Okay. The screen visible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Raman, thank you very much, and the Pediatric Airway Group for inviting me here today to speak on this important topic of insights into the HPV vaccine prophylaxis. The last 1 hour has been like a child, I'm a pediatrician, like a child going into a nuclear physics class. There's so many new things and so many procedures which we don't see normally. And thanks to Dr. Raman, we have been managing a few cases of papillomatosis, and I will just go through the vaccine part of it. Well, the role of HPV vaccine in this condition can be either prophylactic or therapeutic. I think this has been touched upon very briefly by my previous speakers, Dr. Nupur and Dr. Kapil, on both the prophylactic role and the therapeutic role. So I will just go through a little bit more in detail on some of these aspects. Now, as we know that HPV, there are more than 180 types of the HPV virus which are there, and the most common ones which are implicated are the type 6 and type 11, which are the ones which are implicated. The 11 type has been reported to produce earlier disease, more severe disease, and recurrent disease with a predilection for malignancy. Of course, this probably would be different in different areas and may not be uniform at this thing. The transmission probably occurs at birth from HPV-infected microenvironment. Well, there has been some studies which have shown that the primiparous teenage mother with a prolonged labor is probably the one who is most likely to transmit the disease. Now, coming to the presentation, usually between 1 and 6 years of age, dysphonia is the main presenting symptom. Stridor, dyspnea, chronic cough, sometimes hemoptysis, and rarely pulmonary involvement. Dr. Kapil had shown some of the X-rays and the scanning reports on that. Now, coming to the prevention, the vaccines which are available, we have basically two kinds of vaccines available in India. That is the bivalent vaccine 1618 or the Cervarix, which has no effect on the papillomatosis. The quadrivalent vaccine has the 6, 11, 16, and 18. And this is the one which has been used for prevention of the papillomatosis because it contains the two main antigens, the 6 and 11. There's another 9-valent vaccine which is now available in the United States of America. It's not yet licensed for use in India, and this covers more of the vaccine types than the quadrivalent vaccine. The quadrivalent vaccine is primarily 6, 11, 16, 18, which is sourced from Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and it covers 90% of genital warts, 6 and 11 of the types. The 9-valent vaccine is given to girls between 9 and 26 years of age and boys between 9 and 15 years of age. It has all the types which are there in the quadrivalent vaccine. In addition, it also has the type 31, 33, 45, 52, and 58, which account for about 20% of cervical cancers. It probably would also cover to some extent some of the types which are not being detected on this thing, right? Now, what is the role in prevention? This slide was already shown by Dr. Kapil before. I'll just expound on this. This is probably one of the first studies which showed on a population-based basis of how the HPV-led papillomatosis has come down over a year with vaccination. Australia introduced vaccination in both boys and girls, and it showed that there was a gradual reduction in the frequency of over time, and therefore it probably has a mass effect. Now, as far as the what are the caveats for this kind of a result to get in our country? One is there has to be a public health implementation of the vaccine with good coverage. We need to vaccinate at least 60 to 70% of the population to get a coverage like what they've got in Australia. You also have to vaccinate boys and girls. In India, the vaccine is licensed only for girls. It is not yet licensed for boys. Therefore, we're missing out on a huge amount of population there. The third thing is the timing of administration. It's very important that the vaccine is administered before the first sexual debut, and therefore, if you look at most of the recommendations are to give it early before 14 years of age. Giving it later may not have the best efficacy. Schedules are again changing. We used to give 3 doses of the vaccine. Now we know that 2 doses are sufficient. And in some of the trials, even 1 dose has been shown to be very good. If it is 1 dose, then we have a very, very attractive vaccine because the cost and the cost of both the vaccine and the administration comes down quite dramatically. Now, coming to the therapeutic indications, few studies have been done on adjunctive therapy in adults, and it has shown that it reduces the interventions after vaccination. How does it do it? I think primarily immunological, and antibody-induced inhibition is one of the things that has been shown. The second thing is also on the CMI-based response. These are early days. We really don't know whether this is going to work. The other issue which will come up is if for a therapeutic vaccine to be used, if we see children between the ages of 1 and 6, this vaccine is licensed only about 9 years of age. So are we going to advocate the use of this vaccine in smaller children is an ethical issue because it has not been either studied or licensed for this age. So in conclusion, the quadrivalent or 9-valent vaccine has a definite role in preventing genital HPV and subsequent probably RRP. However, it should be administered early and cover 6 and 11. It should be in the national schedule. Boys and girls both must be given. There may be a role for use as a therapeutic vaccine. We still need data. Of course, as I mentioned, there are ethical and legal challenges. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jagdish. I call him Quick Draw McDraw, the Indian version of Quick Gun Murugan. He puts it across his thoughts so fast, so quickly, succinctly, that we can take this message home. Now, what do our panelists think about it? Can we start once again with Dr. Deepak? You need to.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, very well said. I think, as I told earlier, in US, the commonly used vaccine is the quadrivalent one, and it's more used in the teenagers, college-going kids, and it's on the national schedule. So most people nowadays are using it, and because of that, as I said, it's shown definitely a downward trend. Overall, speaking to all my colleagues, there's definitely the number of RRP cases we are seeing is much less. I don't have any I've not tried the intralesional vaccine ever, so I don't know if anyone else has used it and has any response. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone else has used intralesional vaccine.
Vikram, quick comments from you. Sir, I just hope that we soon have get to see the use of these vaccines in these younger children, and also that the 9-valent vaccine should be made available to us in India as soon as possible. There was some role considered earlier about the use of mumps vaccine intraducinally, but I think that has been proven to be not of much use. So that's all I can say about it.
Right. And Dr. Karthik, any comments on the vaccine?
I agree completely with the other panelists that this is a public health problem, not an individual patient problem. And as we see broader use of the vaccine, my hope is greatly that we'll see fewer of these patients with less severe disease, but then also long-term, of course, lower incidence of HPV-related head and neck cancer and so on. So I think that's really the way to go long term. In terms of the mumps vaccine, I agree with Dr. Kapila. It keeps coming up in conversation, but actually there's very little data, and I don't think the data has been particularly exciting. So I think our focus should be elsewhere.